Okay. We are now recording. So I'm excited you are here. And the reason I wanted to start with a dowsing intro to dowsing is because I have taken several dowsing courses from some amazing expert world-renowned dowsers. And what I realized is so often when people are going to these classes, they're already very experienced in energy. So like they are Reiki masters or they're, they've been doing energy work and this is just an additional tool. And some of you guys, well, all of you guys here, I do know y'all. A lot of the people that registered, I don't know them and I don't know what they know. So we're just going to start as if you all know nothing, okay? Because I think it's very important because when we do start the dowsing class next week, you're ahead of the game because you already understand energy and what it is that we're doing versus us going in and you're seeing this pendulum and you have no idea really what is happening with the energy. So the first thing, does anybody here feel comfortable with energy? Do you feel that you understand it or you're like, okay, give me the crash course?
Start from
Okay.
They telling you?
Okay. So frequency, that's what I want to start with first. Okay. So everything about our life and everything that's happening in our life, everything that we encounter has a frequency attached to it. So it's like a radio station, so as you're driving, as you go to certain places, sometimes that radio station, you lose the frequency. You're not aligned with it, right? So think about energy in that way, that everything has a frequency. Now, some of you that have been working with me, y'all know I'm very big on YouTube about pulling up the frequencies that you need. So like when we're doing one-on-one sessions, we're listening to a healing frequency. The reason being is because we're energetic beings. Our mind and our emotions are energetic. So if we're tapping in and constantly listening to that frequency, then guess where we're being pulled to? That level of frequency, right? So like when I need to focus, I'm listening to focus frequency. When I used to have trouble sleeping at night, I would be listening to sleeping frequency because that taps into our brain waves. Okay. So if you think about it like that, like your brain is kind of, and your mind is kind of like the radio, and we're dialing in to get to the frequency of the things we desire. Okay. So when you're thinking about frequency, imagine you want to bring in more happiness. You want to bring in more peace. You want to bring in more love. So in order for that to happen, we need to raise our vibration and our energy level to that frequency. Okay. Is this making sense to everybody so far?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share my screen real quick because this is a very important. Can y'all see my screen?
Not yet.
No.
No.
Almost.
How about?
Okay, there it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what is this? This is the various levels of consciousness. Okay.
It went away.
It went away. I thought it was just me.
How about now?
Okay.
Okay.
Is
There
it
we go.
back?
Okay.
Okay. Well, y'all are just going to have to watch me turn my head because it's on my other screen.
That's
And when
fine.
I moved it, it didn't like y'all. It didn't like that. Okay. So with this, I like to show this because this is the level of consciousness. However, you can see, I don't know if any of you have ever read the book called Map of Consciousness. If you have not, it's an excellent book and it really does do a lot to teach you about energy. So I like using this chart, and this is a chart that I even have in my big binder for dowsing. The reason I like it is because it helps give you a viewpoint of when you're feeling a certain emotion, what level it is on the level of consciousness. Now, I use that quite often because that also tells me what energetic level you're at. So say, for example, if you are walking around, and I'll talk about the older version of me, I used to walk around a lot. I used to stay over here in this fear and anxiety and regret and grief, guilt and blame. Like I lived on this side for a very, very, very long time. And so what happens is when you're in an energetic body, if you're always in these levels and you're staying there, then your energy level is going to come down. And guess what we attract? So we're back on our frequency. If the radio station is what we get based on the frequency we're on, so if I'm over here sitting in shame all day, then guess what I'm attracting to me?
Shame.
Situations that keep me being shameful. Okay. If I'm living in regret and grief and anxiety, then that's what energy level and frequency I'm pulling out into the world. So guess what it's bringing back to me?
Shame.
So if we want to be over here where we're getting love, joy, peace, harmony, serenity, and all that, then guess what we need to do for our energy level? We need to be on those frequencies. Okay. And so, yes, dowsing is very powerful at getting you at those energetic frequencies. Now I'm going to use Sarah. I'm going to tap in on Sarah as an example. When Sarah
Okay.
started working with me 5 weeks ago, her energetic level, I think, was 150,000.
Yep.
And so every week I've been dowsing to clear these energies from her. Last week when she was here, her starting energy was at 2.5 million. Now, that doesn't mean that she don't feel any of these feelings, but the difference is she feels them. And because her energy level is so high, she doesn't stay in it. It doesn't allow her to stay in that emotion because her energetic level is too high. Her frequency is too high. She might, you know how you're on the radio and you might get 2 or 3 words in and then it goes completely static. That's kind of what's happening with her. The higher we keep our energetic level, the less these lower level energies can come into play. Okay, so it's like they're coming in, but they can't connect. There's nothing there for them to connect to because we're not sitting in that energetic level. Okay. And so where do most of us want to be? We want to be over here with all the good stuff, right? We don't want to be over here. I know I don't. Over here was not fun, and it was hard. And waking up every day crying and not wanting to go to work and not wanting to, that was just a terrible feeling. However, I also know that we can definitely navigate out of it. Okay. All right. So let's see. What is my other thing that I wanted to share with you guys? Do I still have it up? Yes. Okay. So what is our energetic body? So the one thing is, I'll stop sharing for a second. So here's the thing. Anything that is coming to us is because we're at that level of frequency. Okay. So if I want to attract happiness, joy, harmony, and peace, doing dowsing helps us clear that energy so we can get there. But not only that, if those are the things that I want to attract, I have to be participating in those things to make it happen. There's got to be something that I do that brings in some type of happiness. Am I saying that you got to be doing happiness all day, every day? No, but you need to at least feel that emotion, because anything that's inside of us radiates out and that's what we're attracting. So if we're feeling discouraged, or if we're feeling regret or resentment or things like that, we're going to continue to attract those things that make us feel that. Okay. So in order for us to avoid that, the things that we have to do is program our thoughts, our memories, and our beliefs, because those things is really what creates our energy. Because every thought, every belief, every action, all of those things carry energy. So imagine a light carries energy, a computer carries energy. There's fire carries energy. Everything has a spirit. Okay. So like I was reading something today where somebody's like, well, hey, when there's a fire breaking out, why don't we ask to reduce the spirit of fire? Well, we can't really reduce something at its core. Like fire is fire. We can't take the spirit of fire out. But one of the things you're going to learn is when we're dowsing, we can remove the destruction that is within fire. And because that isn't the spirit itself. Okay. So when you think about that, it's kind of like the spirit of water. What is our body? How much percentage of our body is made up of water?
90 something. I think.
Mm-hmm. So if our body is 90% water, why would you not energize your water on a daily basis?
You should.
Mm-hmm. Because, and we're going to learn that in the class, is how to energize water and put in the elements you want. So like in my house, anytime you drink water, my whole entire house, all my pipes on the outside, bringing it into my house. Anytime I walk through that door with anything that has water in it, I've already programmed my house, my pipes, my refrigerator, everything to energize water with love, joy, harmony, peace, prosperity, and abundance. So every time we're drinking water, guess what we're pouring in our body?
All that good stuff.
Yes. So how we can do that right now, since we haven't done any dowsing, is if you have a glass of water, put your hand over it and bless the water with what it is that you want it to be in there. Say, I bless this water with pure love and light, happiness, joy, harmony, peace, prosperity, abundance, whatever it is that you want. Bless the water. Every time you eat, a lot of people say grace and blessings. I never really did that as a child, but I do now. But I'm blessing the food with all of the things that I want, the nutritional value. And I ask that if it's not for my best and highest good, do not let my body absorb it, because I don't want it. Okay, so this is part of what you're going to learn called neutralizing. So with energy, do y'all remember in science class where we were taught energy can't be destroyed?
Right.
But we can transmute it. Okay, and that's what you're going to learn in dowsing, is that, say for example, you have the spirit of anxiety. Okay, and when we go in and we banish and neutralize that spirit of anxiety, it's like we take it away. It's like we're pulling it back, but we got to replace something. So any of you that have worked with me, you remember where we'll go and pull out a root, right? But then we're going to go back and plant it with what it is that we want. It's the same thing with energy. If we're we can't remove it, we can't destroy it. But what we can do is we can transmute it into the energy that we desire. So if you have anxiety, what would you rather have? What would you like to remove anxiety and replace it with?
Peace.
Peace. Yep, peace.
Calm, right? So it's like we would banish the spirit of, and I don't know, y'all always see me, because when you remove energy, you're removing it from the left, and when you're bringing it in, you're bringing it to the right. So it's like counterclockwise and clockwise. Clockwise is adding it, counterclockwise is removing it, okay? And because I see energy like circling, like that's one of the gifts that has come to me in the past few months, is that I can see people's energetic field. So for me, I'm always seeing us circling like we're in this big ball of light, just circling. So it's like in my mind, when I'm trying to teach people, it's like, okay, we're all surrounded in this big realm of, it's kind of like Saturn. We're sitting in the middle and that big ring's running around us. It's kind of the same thing. That's how best way I can visually describe it. So when you're thinking about this and you're wanting to remove these things, then we have to replace it with what we want. So those are some of the things that you're going to be learning when we get into this class in detail, like when we're looking at all these spirits, because every emotion has a spirit attached to it. Okay, so if I'm removing, physical pain, what am I trying to bring in the place of it? If I'm removing depression, what am I trying to replace it with? Now, one thing I always say is pure love, because one of my teachers taught not to say unconditional love, because stalkers can love you unconditionally and we don't want to attract those. But pure love is for our best and highest good, right?
Mhm.
And everything that we do, anytime you're dealing with this energy, make sure you're always stating that for your best and highest good. Because what do you think, if everything is for your best and highest good, what do you think is going to be established as you're working on energy? Anybody want to guess? Start to have trust.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
And if we trust the universe and we trust ourselves, then the more energy work we do, the better we're going to feel about it. Okay. All right. So let's talk about our energetic body, like how we operate. So can y'all see? Let me share my screen because I want us to go through our chakras, because guess what our chakras are?
Energy, swirls of energy.
Yes. And it is, I would call it the backbone of our energetic body. This is where all of our energy comes from. Okay. So the very first chakra that we have is our root chakra. Does anyone know where that may be?
Right at your tailbone kind of thing.
Yes, it's your tailbone, right? So Chris knows this because she called me out one time when I was not where I am right now in my healing world. I used to have a very bad problem with shaking my leg.
That's me.
I would shake my leg so hard. Like we were on a cruise. So anybody that don't know, Chris and I have been friends for 25 years. So we were on a cruise and her and my friend made me sit on the opposite side of the table because I would shake so hard that I would be shaking everybody that was sitting on that bench. But I didn't realize that. Guess where shaking comes from?
Where?
Not feeling safety and secure in my root chakra. Because what do you think your root chakra is? What is always at the root of anything? That's where your growth is. So if my foundation didn't feel safe and secure, then the rest of this wasn't going to feel safe and secure. Okay. So when you see people that are shaking a lot, like their legs and stuff like that, know that they have a root chakra imbalance. Okay. So what does this look like and where does it store in our body? So when you hear people that have spinal column issues, they have leg issues, feet issues, kidney issues, and poor immune system, guess what isn't in balance? Our root chakra.
Their root chakra. Low back pain. Hello.
Hello. Exactly. This is where it comes from, because something inside of us doesn't feel safe and secure. Our foundation has a lot of cracks in it. Now, the beauty is we can fill those up really, really quick with dowsing. And just by working on releasing a lot of the spirits and the emotions and the beliefs, because you would be surprised at certain beliefs, how much energy they hold and bring you down. Okay. So if you have a balanced chakra, then guess what you have? Good health, you're well grounded, vitality, stability, prosperity, and the feeling of feeling safe and secure. Okay. Now, I have to do work on my chakras every day. When I do dowsing, that is one thing I check every day, because I realize the importance of my chakras being balanced. Because if they're not balanced, I can see how it's going to affect my health and how it's going to affect what I'm attracting. Okay. Now, what happens if our chakra is unbalanced? We can't focus. We lack discipline. We're disorganized. We have financial difficulties. We have fear, anxiety. Somebody is trying to come in and I can't see them. Hold on, let me stop sharing. Okay. Okay, let me go back. Okay, so with our chakra being unbalanced, we may have lack of stamina, we overeat, we have obesity, hoarding, sluggishness, fear of change, and addiction to security. Okay, so that is our root chakra. That's the very base of our energetic being within inside of us. This is what moves all of our energy through us. So when it's not balanced, or it is having all these issues, then these are the side effects of it. Now, if it's not balanced, the physical effects, what we feel in our body is lower back pain, headaches, feeling tired, poor circulation, water retention, constipation, excessive gas, and diarrhea. Now, who knew that our root chakra could cause so much into our body? So now we see the importance of why we need to keep our chakras balanced, because if they're not in balance and they're at the forefront of us, then what does it do? It creates all these health issues, and it also hurts us. Okay. Our sacral chakra, that is like kind of right around your belly button. This is where our emotions are stored. So if we have pelvic issues, kidney, bladder, things of that nature, or reproductive, this is where all of that's stored. So if it's balanced, then we have creativity, grace, enthusiasm, nurturing ourselves, able to experience pleasure, able to change. If it's unbalanced, then we have poor social skills, lack of passion and excitement, denial of pleasure, rigid boundaries, fear of change, depression, moodiness, obsessive attachment. And then this is also where we have lower back pain, swollen hands, pain in legs, things of this nature. So when you realize, okay, these two chakras, if they're not imbalanced, you see how it can truly affect your entire life. Okay, so we starting to see the power of energy and how it affects our entire life.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I will email this out. So every, even for the people that are listening and you guys here, I will email all this out so you will have a copy of it. All right. Okay. Our solar plexus. This is where our wisdom, our clarity, and self-esteem is. So this is coming up. So this is like our upper abdomen. This is where our liver, our digestive system, our stomach, our spleen. This is what is regulated by this chakra. And this makes us confident. It makes us feel responsible. We have good self-esteem. We have a good sense of humor, which all of y'all know that I obviously have a very strong sacral chakra because I'm funny. No. I'm able to meet challenges. I have a warm personality. But what happens if it's not? Okay, then that's where we can be weak and easily manipulated. We're undisciplined. We have poor follow through. We're emotionally and physically distant. We're unreliable. We don't have good self-worth. We have a very short temper. We're overly confident. So here are some of the things. And then if it's not balanced, like if we're not taking care of it, then middle back pain, restless sleep between 1 and 3, puffiness and bloating, excessive gas, indigestion. And when we have those sugar or salt cravings, guess where that comes from?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think I put in the class group the other day, I was like, right now, because our sacral is getting all this work done, our solar, sorry, I lost my train of thought, is that everybody was craving sweet and salty stuff. And I'm like, hey, y'all got to fight that. Okay, we got to fight it because right now there's a lot of a big energetic shift happening. And so when you start craving that sweet and that salt, just you're going to have to fight through it. Eat some fruit, drink some water. All right, our heart chakra. Of course, everybody knows where our heart is. That's about balance and love and self-control. And where do we feel this at? That's in our heart, our blood circulation, our lower lungs, our upper back, our shoulders. And when it's balanced, we're forgiving and trustful and loving and sincere and happy. So you remember when I showed you the levels of consciousness, all of those amazing feelings that were over here to the right that we all want? Well, this is in our heart chakra, okay? Opening up our heart. And I know a lot of us are very scared to open up our heart, but it's what we have to do, okay? Now, what happens if it's not balanced? We become withdrawn. We become critical and judgmental, lonely and isolated, codependent, demanding, jealous, and angry, okay? Now, how does this affect us and show up physically? By chest pains, tight muscles, upper back tension, shoulder pain, immune deficiency, blood pressure imbalance. So when I had blood pressure issues, guess what? I had to do a lot of work on my heart chakra. Okay. Our good old throat chakra. What do y'all think this is about? Knowledge, speaking, communication. Preach. Because how often do we keep our mouth closed? Because we grew up talking about don't speak unless you're spoken to. So what do? We keep our mouth shut, or we don't want to disrupt nothing, so we keep our mouth shut to keep the peace. Well, guess what don't like that? Our throat chakra. It does not like that. And the way you may know that is because this affects our jaw, our neck, our throat, our upper lungs, our arms. And if it's balanced, we're able to speak our truth. We get to live a creative life. We get to have a sense of timing, and we can openly share our knowledge, our wisdom, and information. Now, if it's unbalanced, then we become timid, quiet and withdrawn. We don't make good decisions. We may talk too much. We're dominating. We don't have the ability to listen. All right. And then what happens if we're unbalanced? How does it show up physically? By runny noses, phlegm in the throat, coughing, hyperactivity, allergies, fatigue. Okay. Our third eye right here. This is one of my favorites. So our third eye is, guess what happens there? Our intuition. How many of y'all trust your intuition? I know y'all don't have your cameras on, but you can at least hit the button. How many of you trust your intuition?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I do.
Now, the beauty in dowsing is you learn to develop your intuition. Okay, your intuition, then you start to trust it. Okay, now with our third eye, this is our face and our forehead. And when it's balanced, we're intuitive, we perceive things differently, we're imaginative, we're insightful, we live holistically, right? Now, when it's not balanced, we're unimaginative. Like when we feel like our creativity is blocked, this is why, okay? We have poor vision, we overreact to stress, we have poor concentration, poor memory, obsessions, delusions, nightmares. So when our third eye is blocked, these are some of the things that show up. Now, what are the physical effects? Headaches, pain in our eyes, sinus and nose congestion, hormonal imbalance, poor sleeping patterns, spinal ailments, and seizures. Okay, so you don't realize how powerful our third eye is. Okay, a crown chakra. This is our base. This is the last one. Okay, our crown chakra. Guess what is housed there? Our entire nervous system. Okay, because guess what the brain feeds? Our nervous system. Okay, now when we're balanced, we're thoughtful, we have a sense of spirit connection, we have the ability to perceive, analyze, assimilate information, we're very open-minded, and we're wise. Now, if we don't have it, then we're cynical, we lack abundance and wholeness. And abundance doesn't just mean financially, that's in anything. Abundance can be in happiness and joy, you know, our prosperity, our health, like anything. Okay. Learning difficulties, uncertainty, lack of purpose, fear of death, overly intellectual, confused, unhealthy selfishness. Okay. Now, if it's unbalanced, guess what we hear? Physical effects, ringing in the ears, dimming vision, nervous system imbalance, short memory, poor coordination, chronic exhaustion. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the chakras?
All mine need some tuning. All 7 of them. I'm in trouble.
Understood. Yeah,
Will the dowsing help balance the chakras?
absolutely. Because
Okay.
what happens is, you know, and I'm going to pull my dowsing. I hope y'all can see it this way. Can y'all see my chart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now a pendulum. So when we start class next week, get you a pendulum. Okay. Now, if you don't have a pendulum or you can't go out and get one, you can use a necklace. You could use a string with a paper clip. All we need is it to have string so it can navigate. Okay. So you all get one of these charts as well. And so what happens is it's like there's a yes. Can you see the yes? And then there's a no. And
Okay.
next week, I will actually have my camera where it'll be closer so you can see this. Tonight, I just wanted to give you an example. Now, I use a metal one. And regardless if you use a crystal one, the reason I use a metal one is because it has less energy in it. Because if you get a stone pendulum, like, you know, citrine or whatever type of stone, those all carry their own energy. And so sometimes your answer may be a little off. However, I can teach you how to program it to where it will still have the same energetic level as metal. Okay. So when you're using the dowsing, you have a certain way to hold it. So I always twist it around my finger and then I hold it. I'm not holding it tight. I'm just giving it the ability. So I would say, show me a yes. So it's moving to show me a yes. And then I'll say, show me a no. And it moves. Now you notice my hand isn't moving it. It's moving on its own. Okay. Now, when you're looking at doing your certain chakras, so every day I come in and I say, what is the frequency of my heart chakra? I'm just going to use that. You see it's in between, oops, my finger hit it. See it's in between the yes and the 1. So it's at a 0.5. A 0.5 means it's balanced. If it was a 2, that means it's not balanced. That means it's overactive. If it was a -2, then that means it's underactive. And so then once I know what the frequency is, then I know how to adjust it. So as we were talking earlier, like say, for example, I want to check for the spirit of anxiety. And so I'm going to ask, does anyone in this room have the spirit of anxiety? And so it tells me yes, right? Now, if I want to get rid of this, I'm going to banish it. So I'm going to banish the spirit of anxiety, deactivate the life force, scramble the frequency, and then adjust the frequency to pure love, peace, harmony. So when it finishes moving to counter this way to the left, that means it's removing it. Okay. Once it starts going forward like this, then it's going to start going the other way, because now it's putting it in. It's putting in all the emotions that we want. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to give you a quick example. Now, the beauty in this is, as you go through this program, I'm going to teach you how to stabilize your emotions. Remember how we talked about how every emotion, thought, belief, all have spirits? If those spirits are not good for us, we can get rid of them and we replace them with what it is that we truly desire. Okay. Now, the other thing is we get to check for things that may be attached to us. So one of the things I do when I have clients come to see me, I check what emotions are they ready to release. I check those emotions, but then I check to see when they got that emotion. So say, for example, someone has lack of control, right? I would ask how old they were or what year did they get that? Because then I can sit down with you and I say, okay, I'm going to use you, Katrina. Okay, Katrina, in 1987, what happened in your life? And then she'll go back, she'll think, and then she'll be like, oh, well, this happened. Well, guess what? That's the root of where the lack of self-control came from. So then we can remove that, okay? The other beauty is when you're doing dowsing, not only do you get to work on your chakras, you get to work on your health. I had broken ribs that they told me was going to take 12 weeks to heal. By dowsing, in 3 weeks, I healed my ribs. When I had the shingles, I removed the pain that was with the shingles. And if anyone's ever had shingles, that it was painful, but I was able to remove the pain from it. And it's the same thing with anything health related. You can adjust it. Anything, like every day I work on my balancing my brain, because I have ADHD, but I go in there, I make sure my left side of my brain is balanced. I make sure the right side of my brain is balanced. And if both sides of my brain are balanced, guess what? I have a whole lot of clarity. I have a whole lot of brain power, because if we only use 20% of our brain, imagine how effective we could be if we use 100%. Y'all be a bunch of powerhouses, right?
Yep.
Y'all be calling me and y'all out there running laps while on the computer, building a space shuttle. doing it all. So, questions that anybody may have on dowsing. Because I know we went through a lot about energy. So does anybody have any questions?
Dr. Toya,
Yes, ma'am.
so whenever you're dowsing, like I know you're supposed to ask for permission to douse for others.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, if you want to just, like you said, remove the pain from someone,
Mm-hmm.
you have to still get permission to do that for them.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the reason when I checked to see about the anxiety, I had already checked before everybody got in here. So just so you know, I do that anytime I'm going somewhere or anytime I have clients coming or anything like that, I always check everything to see if I have permission. Now, some of you guys are learning this just for you, but the beauty in this is I have grown children and grandchildren and people in my family and friends, and this is the best gift I can give them on a daily basis. So when I'm doing things for me, I'm seeing if I get permission to do it for them as well, because this is the one thing that I can do for them every day. An example of that is my son. His past 2 jobs, when he called and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm going on an interview," I said, "Well, good luck." As soon as I got off the phone, I checked what the frequency of him receiving this job. I cleared out any incompatibility spirit guides. So whoever he was interviewing with, and of course, I can only do it for his best and highest good. Now there's free will in the world, and I can remove anxiety and depression from people every day. But if they're not ready to release it, they're going to hold on to it. And then what's going to happen is one day they're going to be tired of anxiety and depression, and they're just going to jump through the moon because all of that energy is sitting there waiting on them. They just need to get out of that little hot pocket that they're in and accept it. But when that happens, their life is going to change drastically. So the best thing you can do for anybody is learning dowsing to help yourself and to them. I do stuff for our city, for our state, for our county. Like, we can help with the mental stability of all of that. Like, I went to a Snoop Dogg concert. I cleared that whole venue. I made sure there were no demons, no greed, no nothing, because I didn't want, because there's shootings everywhere. I wanted to make sure the place was safe. And for people that have children, guess what you can do? You can make the school safe to remove some of those negative entities and those negative spirits and those spirit guides from those locations to keep it safe. Okay. You can ask Miss Denise. We share a grandchild. That baby girl had a heart murmur. Every day I'm working on her health. She has asthma. Every day I'm working on her asthma. Because I believe, and I've seen it, that it can be healed. She don't have a heart murmur anymore.
Nope.
So dowsing is extremely powerful. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, this is my last one, I promise.
No, please. We learn.
I did do that that dowsing class, but I haven't done anything with it. But so whenever you said that, at the hospital, my son got bit by a snake. So he's in and out or whatever, but every time he wakes up, he said his hand hurt. It's extremely painful. So what do I say? I don't know, like, the wording.
Okay. So my recommendation is anytime there's pain associated, the first thing that we have to do is remove any beliefs, thoughts, and memories that are associated with that pain. Okay. Then we need to remove the poison that he got from the snake. We need to remove any guilt that may be associated. Oftentimes when we have a lot of pain, there's a lot of guilt associated with it. It could be guilt that you're not able to do things like you used to. It could be guilt that you did something like, if you drink too much and you fail and you got hurt, and it's guilt that you weren't taking care of yourself. Like, there's a lot of guilt associated with pain, any type of pain. So it's removing that guilt. So that's where you would banish the spirit. So you would banish the spirit, deactivate the life force, scramble the frequency, and then adjust the frequency to what it is that he needs. So I would definitely tell you he needs a lot of healing and, inflammation, reducing his inflammation, and a lot of pure love. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so I think this would be very good for you, Katrina, because all your kids are like mine. They're grown. They're not listening to us. They don't want to listen to us. So this is our way of helping them without them knowing. Like when my son got those jobs, I didn't tell him that I dowsed, because if I told him that, then he would have thought like, well, dang, I didn't really do it on my own accord. I did it because, and I can't control fate. I'm just going to say that. Like, I can't give him a job but I could make the process easier for him by making sure that there's some compatibility. So if you got kids in school, imagine using this tool to make them compatible with their teachers. You have bosses and coworkers. You could do this to bring in the compatibility, especially if there's people that you don't like working with. You could do this on a daily basis to bring compatibility. So this is part of my self-care on a daily basis. And my clients, I typically spend about an hour a day, but that's for myself and for my family and my clients. Okay. I'm not going to tell y'all that y'all need to spend an hour a day. I'm going to tell you to do what you feels best. And when we're in class next week, you're going to learn a lot more. And then you can kind of decide the things that you want to check, because there's certain things like on Sundays, I may spend about 2 hours because I do a much deeper one. Okay. But during the week, I just do a basic one just to clear out all the things, balance my hormones, my brain chemistry, making sure I don't have any negative spirit guides or negative entities. And we'll get more involved in what negative entities are and how we attract those. And then you get into some of the deep stuff like, demons and poltergeists and curses and stuff like that. But you can check to see if those things are on you and you can clear those. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions?
I got a question. I was hearing what you were saying about the pain and whatnot, about her son getting bit by a spider. A snake. Okay. Does that mean like if it's a little child? Because Sanaya, my little one, she got bit by a spider, and we had to take her to the hospital, and it wasn't a pretty sight. So I heard what you said, but I was just kind of puzzled on the guilt because of the pain. Is that the inclusion on the child as well?
Well, it would be hard because at that age, because she's under 7, a lot of the emotions haven't really kicked in. They don't understand those emotions. You could still remove the guilt, the spirit of the guilt, even though she may not have it, but the wound. So you could do it still. Okay. With a child.
Okay.
Oh. Yep. Anybody else have any questions? Y'all are quiet.
I'm assuming we're going to learn a lot more in the class, so I'm going to withhold my question.
Yes. No, I want you to ask because it's important, because it may be something someone else wants to ask or might give some knowledge. But yes, when we're into class, because I think there's 4 sessions or 3 sessions, 3 2-hour sessions, and we're going to go through a lot. And the reason I ended up breaking it up is because there's going to be certain sections. I'm still creating the manual, so y'all will get that early next week. But I want y'all to be able to practice it before you come back to the following class. So if you have questions, we can answer those questions. Okay.
Okay.
And so when we do start next week, today it's not that big of a deal because it was just me doing a whole bunch of talking. But next week you will have to be on camera, and you will have to, if you can, make sure you have your dowser. And I will be sending over the booklet and all of that. Most of y'all are local except for Crystal, but Crystal, you have the ability to print, correct? I think she does. So anyway, y'all can just print these out, and then each week I will send you new ones so you can just add on and keep practicing. Okay.
Oh, I thought of a quick question.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a pendulum that I was using for my shaman work. Should I have a separate pendulum for this, or can I use just the same pendulum?
I use the same one.
Okay, just checking.
Yep.
Thanks.
Especially if it's already aligned and connected with you, then absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Now, when we start next week, and then y'all have a week off, I want you to really pay attention to what you feel, what is coming up, if you feel more relaxed, if you feel more anxious, because what happens is when you start doing this work and you start doing it on a consistent basis, you'll see your energy level rise up. Like I use Sarah as an example, how hers is now up in the 1,000,000 mark. And the beauty of that is she's not attracting that lower level stuff anymore, because her energy level is so high, she's not able to attract that anymore. And so it can't sustain there. Okay. It's like the frequency of the radio. The higher the frequency, you're going to attract the higher level energies. Okay. And we want the higher level energies, right? We want to be happy all the time. We want to be full of energy.
Yes, we do.
And I don't mean that life isn't going to throw us a curveball, but the beauty is when you do, you're able to handle it. It doesn't bring you back down to zero. It's like, I don't know if any of you have heard me say this before, but it's like gamifying your life. If you're playing Pac-Man, once you conquer level 1 and then you go to level 2, and then you conquer that and you get all the way up to level 10, if something happens, you're not going back to level 1. You're going to stay on level 10. You're just going to have to stay there until you conquer that level. So it's kind of the same thing when we're dealing with our energetic field. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, I will see you beautiful souls next week. If y'all continue to join us next week, again, like I said, I just wanted you to kind of get a grasp of what energy is, what our energy bodies are, understand what spirits are, and understand that they all have energetic frequencies and the importance of the frequency stuff. Okay. So I will encourage all of you, if you're having problems sleeping, if you're at work and you're having problems focusing or concentrating, or if you feel like you have a lot of anxiety and you need to release that, go to YouTube and ask for healing frequencies for whatever it is that you need. If you need abundance and prosperity, keep that healing frequency on, because it brings you up. It taps into your brain frequency, and that's the energetic state that you're staying at. Okay. So at night, when you need sleep, put on that energetic frequency of sleep so you get deep rested sleep. If you need to focus, put on the focus music. If you have anxiety, put on the one that gets you out of anxiety, of peace and calmness. Okay. If you're in pain, find one for pain. They're out there. And that taps into your brain and it helps relieve it. Okay.
Okay.
All right, ladies.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. I hope to
Thank
see y'all
you.
all next week. And I'm so glad I remembered to record for all those other people that didn't
Right.
show up. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
See you later.